grateful because we are joined today by someone that I've been itching to interview. I think her story is amazing, and that is a lady called Mellissa Tong. Now, she is a former news anchor and reporter and producer at the International, which I believe was a satellite channel. She then went on and was an assistant to the executive producers at Martial Law, if you remember that show back in the late 90s, I think it was late 2000. But for the last 20 years, she was the founder and chief executive officer and runner of the DuckPunk Productions, a multi-award winning production company. So I won't hold on any longer. Let's bring Mellissa on. Mellissa, an amazing, you've had your company for 20 years as a business founder, a female entrepreneur. Can you please tell us how you went from the beginnings of the International through to owning your own company and winning multiple awards?
Yeah, it was a long journey. So thanks for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I actually didn't realize, I don't know if any of you have experienced this. I actually did not realize I was a storyteller at heart until a few years ago. Go figure. I've been telling stories pretty much all my life and did not realize I was actually telling stories, right? It's always funny. So I was the news anchor, reporter and producer for 4 years, and I interviewed thousands of people from all walks of life. And luckily, they gave me a segment, which is a human interest segment. So I did not have to cover anything, any hot news. So no plane crash, no accidents, none of the crazy. Yeah, none of the crazy stuff. So I got to cover a lot of the fun stories, So I did everything from health, beauty, technology. All the fun stories. I covered Star Trek convention twice.
Oh, wow. I bet
that was fun. Yeah, they. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have a Star Trek convention every year, and they invited all the press. And actually, they flew you. They put everyone on the plane. They flew us out.
Oh, wow.
They flew us out to the convention, and then I got to sit on the captain's chair and did my little intro there. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a lot of people's dream.
Right, exactly. And then I did a lot of red carpet events, movie premieres. I interviewed a lot of Hollywood celebrities. And then at the end of the 4 years, I realized, wow, I really love the production side of things, but I wasn't crazy about news. So I thought, okay, I got to explore the production side. So I found myself a job working with the executive producer on Martial Law. And I'll tell you another funny story. So remember Samuel Hong, the star on the show? Yep. So as a kid, I grew up watching him on the big screen, right? And I remember the first time, this was very early on in the show, he left a message on my voicemail, on my cell phone voicemail. And I remember I kept that message for as long as I could. I was literally starstruck. I was like, oh my God, Samuel Hong was calling me. Yeah, it was crazy. So I was on the show for 2 years, and then the show got canceled. In 2000, I decided to just strike out on my own and started my own production company called DuckPunk Productions. And I have done a lot of award-winning TV commercials, independent movies, and documentaries. And like I said, I finally look back at all the things that I've done a few years ago and thought, wow, how come I'm not calling myself a storyteller? I've been telling stories for like 25, 26 years. So I rebranded myself and then started calling myself, award-winning storyteller.
Oh, that's interesting. Because funny enough, I interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, and they were a public speaker. And I asked them how they became a public speaker, and they said, I just called myself a public speaker.
Right.
And it just went from there. So you decided to call yourself a storyteller. And
because like I said, because I have like over 25 years of storytelling experience, but I never really called myself that, right? I said, I'm the owner of a production company, we do this and that, right? But when I look back, I mean, it's all about stories. everything I do up to this point is all about storytelling. It's all about how to take advantage and utilize stories to connect with the audience you want to connect and build a rapport and build a trust to move on to the next step, whatever the next step is, right? So for example, when I was, at the TV station, I was trying to find stories that are entertaining, but as well as educational, for my audience, right? So I was building the connection with my audience so they can enjoy, the few minutes that I have 5 minutes with them every day. So they could enjoy the 5 minutes with me showing them, that story. And then after that, on martial law, obviously, that was storytelling. It's a scripted show. And then after that, when I started on my own, I was doing independent movies, documentaries, TV commercials. So it's still everything is storytelling, So I look at storytelling a little bit different than other people. I'm sure other people kind of look at it in a more narrow field, narrow way. But I look at storytelling as much of a bigger arc.
Okay, because I think a lot of people, particularly for small business owners, when they're told about marketing and branding, and they're talked about, you want it's everything is in the story, and I think a lot of people just think, what, my story? But it's not my story, is it? It's getting a story that can relate to promote your brand. So I think that's what people get stuck with. They think, oh,
Correct.
My story is boring. I haven't done anything. Well, that's not the story you're after.
Right. Correct. So there are many ways to tell a story. Okay. So if you want to tell a story from a company point of view, first of all, it's very crucial and critical that you understand and know what your company is about, right? So the core values of your company. Every company is different, and every company has its own value system. And if you don't know what your value and culture is, it's very hard to craft a story for your company to connect with your audience. Because nowadays, with all the social media, everything is very transparent. And I'm sure you've seen all these like media wars on Twitter, about officials and everything, right? You say one thing and the people, oh wait, that's wrong, and people will correct you. So everything is very transparent. So you better make sure whatever story you're telling is congruent with the value and the core message that your company can stand behind. Because if you cannot stand behind it, people will call you out on it. And then you won't look very good. I promise. So you have to understand what your company is about, and then also what is your product and what is the benefits and product of your service and products that you're offering to your clients. What can your clients get out of it, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a product or service, but what can your customers get out of that? It could be just an experience, right? It could be a tangible result. It could be anything. But what are you actually giving to your customers, right? If you're not clear about that, it's going to be, your story is not going to be very effective. So, but once you get clear about that, then you can create multiple stories. Story is easy. You can create multiple stories to promote that. I don't know if this is too abstract. You tell me, because I've done it so much. So
it's interesting. But can I ask this? So two things. One is how you define what it is you provide. Because I'm guessing a lot of people will be providing a consultancy or a product, but it's that end result is how the person will feel. So if I took myself as an example, my little elevator pitch is that I help consultants and business owners eradicate the fear of running out of content by teaching them or showing them how to create an abundance of content that is going to keep them going over all the media platforms and all through a short live stream video, effectively. So that's great. It gives them content, but it's actually what that does for them. That then positions them. So I follow that and say, I will position them as a industry leader or a leader in their niche.
Correct. So it's not the content, right? It's not the video content itself. It's the
It's what it's
result of the video content.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think that's what people struggle with. It's that
Yes.
extra little bit as the
Exactly. You have to go one step further. It's not just what's in front. It's like, okay, okay, you create video content, right? And somebody else will do something else. But actually, what can people get out of that? That's the key. That's the heart of the story.
yeah, and how it makes them feel. So if we took an accountant as an example, yes, they can get you a reduction in your tax bill and have your business filing correct and up to date so you won't get any penalties. But what that actually gives you as the business owner is huge peace of mind and the knowledge, something that it takes away a problem. So it's an issue that's resolved. It allows you to focus on making money, delivering your service, whatever it is. So from that element, so how then do you take that element and then create a story around it? So you can create lots of different stories. So I'm interested in how you develop those. And would you just I don't know, do you have a list of things you think, okay, that's a good story, or you've been doing it so long?
Many people ask me that question. It's funny. I've been doing it for so long. I don't have a set of list. I don't go by a list. I just know. When somebody tells me something, I just know right away if that's the right way to do it or not. I just know whether it's the right story or not. I get goosebumps when people, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I could feel it in my body, literally I could feel it. So when I feel it, then I know, oh, okay, so this is the right direction. And when I don't feel it, then I know that's not it. I'll give you some examples. So I actually did work with a CPA. And he said, well, I would like to get some new clients, but I'm not really getting very much attention or attraction when I go to networking events. And I said, okay, what do you say? He said, well, I say, okay, I'm so-and-so, I'm a CPA, I like working with people, and obviously I love numbers. I said, okay, that's good, but don't you think every other CPA will say the same thing?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, probably. So I said, okay, well, how do you differentiate yourself then? He goes, oh, I don't know. Okay, that's all right. Let's explore it, right? So we had a session, and I kept asking him questions. And he wasn't able to give me the answer I was looking for.
Okay.
So I said, okay, let's dig deeper. Let's go back to your college years. Did anything happen during your college years? He said, well, I can't really think of anything. I said, okay, let's go back further. High school. He said, can't think of anything. I said, okay, let's keep going back. And finally he said, wow, I actually have not thought about it or talked about this. When I was a young kid, my dad got audited once, and his paperwork was nowhere, in order. So he was frantically trying to get everything together, driving the whole family insane because he was all stressed out. He was not prepared. And he said he didn't remember, what the dad's CPA did, but his father it was just a very, very stressful time for the whole family. And he thought at the time, as a young boy, he thought, wow, if I ever become, a tax guy, I would not let this happen to any of my clients. So he already decided way back then that if he became a CPA, that's what he would do for his clients. See, this decision was formed way before he knew it.
Yeah.
And he totally forgot about it. Like, I mean, he's a grown man now, but he never talked about it. He never even remembered that incident until I started asking him all these questions. So now that he remembers it, I said, okay, so this is how you talk when you go to networking events from now on. Don't start with, oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm a CPA, I love numbers, I like working with people. Don't start with that, Just say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm sure people ask, oh, so what do you do, right? So let's say this, yeah, I'm so-and-so, but, let me share with you this story. When I was a young boy, I actually witnessed my father getting audited. and he was driving the whole family insane, and we were all completely stressed out. And at that moment, I told myself if I were to become a CPA, I would make sure that all my clients' paperwork would be in order, so no one would have to endure what my father went through. So here I am. I am a CPA. So because of that, people remember his story.
I was just about to say, that is way more memorable, isn't it?
Exactly. So people will okay, so I'll tell you, when I go to networking events, every time I go, I come home, I come back to the office with a whole stack of business cards, right? If I don't remember who's who, I'm going to toss it. I don't keep them. It will just end up in my trash can. But if you tell an engaging story and get people ask you questions and get people interested, people may not remember your name. People may not remember what exactly you do, but people will remember your story. And then when they remember your story, when the right time comes, they'll say, "Oh, wait, so and so got audited. Oh, let me find that guy's info. You need to talk to this guy, because when you go with him, he's going to make sure that you don't have to worry about getting audited, because your paperwork will be already in place. Everything is in place. You know, you just walk in, no stress, right?" So he's getting so much more interest and traction. So that's the power of a story.
That's brilliant. And do they have to be true stories, or can they be slightly embellished, or does it have to have that? Does it have to have that personal element, or can you weave a different story in?
Well, it's better if it's authentic and true,
Yeah.
because when you tell a true story, you're not going to mess up. You're not going to have to remember all the little details that you try to embellish it with, right? If you try to tell a story that's not 100% true, then you may tell it one way this time, you may tell it another way this time, and sooner or later you're going to forget how you told it the first time. So I don't encourage people telling stories that are not authentic, because I truly believe that all of us are here for a reason. All of us have a mission in life, whether you know it or not. We're all here for a reason. And when you are in line with that mission or vision, then everything will just flow and everything will work out, with less effort. So I would encourage anybody and everybody who's listening, tell your authentic story, because you are one different individual. You have your special sauce that are different than your competitors, regardless of what you do. So don't worry about, oh, my story is boring. No stories are boring if you know how to tell it. Now, a CPA is boring. It's not a boring, but the job of a CPA is more it's less creative. Let's put it this way. It's less creative than something, than making a movie or doing something, that requires, more creative thinking, right? But yet, if even a CPA can tell an inspiring story if you know how to tell it. So the key is knowing how to tell a story, more so than trying to find a story that is not true to you and try to tell somebody else's story. Does it make sense?
Yes. So it's how to tell the story. And I've got a bit, for full disclosure, I used to be an accountant before I decided.
Oh, okay.
Totally different. And it's just not something I don't think anyone really wakes up and says, I want to be an accountant when I grow up. I always say it's one of those jobs you kind of drifted into because you weren't sure what to do. And then when you've done it for 20 odd years, you then think, gosh, no, I really want to do something. Like in my case, it was like, I really want to do something creative as opposed to just crunching numbers for the next 25 years. So that's why
even as an accountant, you can still tell the story in a creative way, right? And I'm sure it requires creative efforts to crunch the numbers. So it's not so cut and dry. I don't know the business well, but on the outside, it looks very cut and dry. But I'm sure on the inside, when you're actually doing it, it still takes, some creative juice to figure out, okay, I got to do this and that to make all the numbers work together, right?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of analytical things. That was
right, exactly. Yeah,
and that was the thing. So I even when I do stuff now, so when I'm doing the marketing side and I look at all the analytics, that appeals to my analytical accounting brain. But then when I'm doing the videos and having the fun, that's my creative brain. It was trying to strike that balance. So
Right.
yeah, so it's how you tell the story. So is there a way? Is there a formula for how to tell it, or is it just something that you just have to play with or work with?
I don't really have like a formula per se. I would say start with why you do what you do.
Yeah,
That always helps.
everyone has a reason. Yeah,
Right, exactly. So start with your why and then go into the benefits that you're giving to your clients. And
oh,
then tell it in a way that is engaging. So you just have to practice because not every one of us is, like you said, wakes up one day and say, "Oh, I'm gonna start telling stories." And this is a skill set that everybody has actually, but it's just that it's like a muscle. You never exercise this muscle. So you need to exercise this muscle to make this muscle stronger and work better, right? So but the more you practice, the more you'll get better at it. So I think the first thing to try to get better at it is the elevator pitch. Because if you can get through the elevator pitch, then you can open a lot of doors. Because if your elevator pitch doesn't work very well, then there's no second conversation.
no, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people find that because they've got their elevator pitch and they kind of memorize it word for word, that it suddenly it's not as flowing, so it's not as insightful. And then, yeah, you get to the end of it, and where'd you go? That was my elevator pitch, bang, done.
Right, exactly. Like you don't get any further because if you can get past the first gate, which I look at it as in any business relationship, right? So the first step is always the elevator pitch, regardless of whether you're talking to one person or you're talking to multiple people in the room, right? That's the first impression. If you cannot get it right, you cannot go past the first gate. There's no second gate or third gate. So lately, I've been really focusing on teaching people how to really do a very inspiring, engaging elevator pitch so they can get past the first gate. Because without the first gate, there's no business relationship, there's no sales, there's no dollar sign, right? So that's why the elevator pitch to me is a very very critical first step.
Cool. And that you're now teaching people alongside the production company.
Yeah, alongside doing the production, I'm actually teaching people how to do elevator pitch, how to do presentations, basically how to apply storytelling in their business to gain more customers. Because I think once you can master this, then it really opens up a whole new avenue for you to market.
And are you able to do this? I mean, well, I don't like to say the C word, but with the COVID things, are you able to do this still in person, or is it more?
No, I used to do it in person, but lately I've been doing it online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a virtual class. Like for example, I finished one in July, and one of my students, it was just a 3-week class. So one of my students did $580,000 worth of sales in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now I'm not saying that everyone will get the same amount, but I'm just saying that I was so blown away by the result. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great. So have you got more? So that's like you say a 3-week course.
Yeah, correct.
So are you going to be running that several times a year? And are you open to more people coming into?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're open to more people coming in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very small class. I don't want it to be big because I want to have enough one-on-one time, with each person. So I'm limiting it to 6 to 8 the most, and 6 is kind of nice. So it's a very very small intimate class because I want everyone to be able to practice. You see, I want people to really learn how to do it so they can walk out of the class and know how to do it right away. I don't like giving people a ton of notes and then have them go home and study and study and study because I want it to be applicable, So I want to teach you right there and then how to do it so that, when you walk out, you can start constructing your story. And then the second session is you come back with your story and I'll tell you, okay, you need to start with, this point or that point. don't say this, say that. I kind of like help you tweak it. And then the third week you come back and I actually time you. I have you do different versions. I have you do a 30-second, I have you do a 1 minute, because you have to be able to add and subtract.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
You have to be able to do it on the fly. And if you can't do it on the fly, you're stuck. So that's why I want people to know. Okay, this is what 30-second look like, and this is what a 1 minute look like. Because you have to kind of know what you can add with the extra 30 minutes. I mean, it's 30 seconds, not 30. With the extra, 30 seconds, you have to have an idea of what you need to subtract without the extra, 30 seconds, right? What do people say? Oh, okay, I give you 15 seconds. And then if you only have the 1 minute memorized, then you're like stuck again. You don't know you don't know what to do, you see? So I want people to know what is the core of the story, be able to tell in one line, one sentence, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and a minute.
Wow.
I want them to be ready.
That is so powerful, and something that I think isn't taught enough on particularly I'm thinking about online video and social media, is to have yes, like a little 1 minute video, a 30-second video, 15-second video, but each one telling exactly the same thing, but in a cut down way. I think that's amazing what you're doing there, because it is just a different little elevator pitch, and people have a very short time span when they're
very, very short.
Media, exactly. See it really fast. That's brilliant. Oh, when's your next course?
My next course is actually October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you've got any links to it, we'll pop the links.
Yeah, I will send you the link. Yeah,
and I'll click the link.
Okay.
That's one of the nice things, isn't it? The fact that we're now so global. It doesn't matter where we are. So just so if someone wanted to join that, so is that a structured certain time a day? Certain
it's 1 hour each class. So it's 1 hour. So basically, it's a 3-hour course spread out over 3 weeks, because you do have a little bit of homework. So the first week you come in, I want to hear your elevator pitch as is, without knowing what you need to do, right? I want to see how close you are with the ideal version. And then I will give you a list of questions to prompt you to answer and think back, like what I did with the CPA, and think back of, special incidences or special experiences that you had throughout the years to help you remember some of the things that you may have forgotten. So you come back with that, and then you kind of tell me, what you think in your story, and I'll correct it. That's the second week. So third week you come back with your ideal version of the story, and then, like I said, I will time you, and then we'll do different versions. It's fun, actually. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I bet it is, and it's nice because it's more than one person, so you guys got that interaction, and you bounce ideas off each other. So I think that's brilliant. Oh, Mellissa, sorry, our time's flying along, but where do you see yourself and DuckPunk going in the next months, years ahead? Have you got a plan to?
I actually have been itching to do another independent feature film.
Oh wow!
I don't know what it is gonna. I don't know what it is quite yet, but it has been one of my wishes, because I was born and grew up in Hong Kong. So it's been one of my wishes to tell a Hong Kong story, but from the early ages of Hong Kong being a British colony. Not in the later days, but maybe at the turn of the century, when Hong Kong first was first given to the British. Because I think there was a part people were maybe not very aware of Hong Kong, being in the British for 150 years. And
it was a lease, wasn't it? I believe.
Sorry?
It was a lease, wasn't it?
A lease, yeah, exactly, yeah. So 1997 was the time Hong Kong had to be given back to China. So you minus 150, so you get the start year. And I want to kind of tell the early history of Hong Kong, how Hong Kong was transformed, from a fishing village to basically a global, major global international financial district, right? So to me, that's always very fascinating. And I have to give Hong Kong and your government the credit, because if I didn't grow up in Hong Kong, I wouldn't be who I am today, literally, really. Because although I'm Chinese, but my because of my upbringing, my thinking and my way of operating, is very different, compared to somebody not growing up in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And do you still have family in Hong Kong? Or
yeah, my mom and my sister are still there.
Yeah, and are they okay? I know we often hear
lately the climate is very 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 alarming. Let's put it that way. Very alarming. Yeah. So I have no idea what's going to happen. All I hope is, people will stick to their promises. And I mean, there's nothing better than democracy.
I think so. I think so.
Right? Exactly. So, yeah.
But yeah, hopefully sense will prevail and
right, exactly.
Everything will calm down. It's
right.
Yeah, but that's a fascinating independent. There's so much more I want to ask you. Like, how do you even start to pull funding in for an independent film and know where to go?
It's a lot of work.
That must be huge. Huge undertaking.
It's a huge undertaking. Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I don't quite know yet, but it's been. I mean, the idea has been percolating, in my mind. So we'll see. It may take a few years or longer. I have no idea.
You can't rush it if it's worth doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But hopefully, when I find the right story, then I know, then I know it's the right story to tell. So.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be brilliant. And can I ask, just as a wrap up, if there was any one piece of advice that you could give as a successful entrepreneurial business owner, is there any advice you could give to someone who's just starting out? We've got, in the UK certainly, we've got masses of redundancies where people are losing their jobs because of the pandemic, and so they are looking to do something else. If you've got any advice, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say really really dig deep and figure out why you want to do what you do. A lot of people, when I ask them the question, they say, "Oh, I want to have more time with my family." That's the result of why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, I want to have more flexibility. I want to make more money." Again, that's the result of your why. That is not your why. So until you can get to your why, everything else is just the result of your why. Because once you can get to your why, then whatever you say, the way you tell your story, and the way you do your elevator pitch is going to be so much more powerful. Because your why is driven by your inner being, by your mission in life. So all that is connected. So when you can get to that core of why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing, and nobody can take that away. You see, that is the most powerful thing you can say. And if you can do that, then you have no competitors, because your why is going to be very different than your competitors' why. See, yeah. So I would definitely encourage all of you to really look into why you do what you do, and then start marketing your why, and use the storytelling structure to promote your why, like the CPA story. And I'm sure if you can do that, you'll start seeing results.
Oh, brilliant. I think that's fantastic advice. Mellissa, thank you so much for your time. I know it's been very, very hot in California, so thank you greatly. And guys, if you're watching, we'll put the links in. When Melissa's got her next courses up, we'll pop the links in, so you can always go join there. We'll put links into DuckPunk as well, because there was a great story about how you came up with the name as well. So go read that.
Oh, that's my name. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's a story in itself.
Exactly.
about my life. Everything about my life, it's stories. Now I look back, when I was younger, I didn't realize it, but really everything is about, a story and what I can learn from that experience. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, as I say, thank you so much for your time, Mellissa, and obviously,
Thank
guys.
you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And we will be open for business again